Welcome to episode 17 of Play Some D with your host, as always. Yeah, we know. We know, D. We know. 17 episodes in. Hopefully, eventually, I'm going to get some guests on this baby. Friends, family, probably. Nothing crazy. I don't think. But hopefully, you never know. But I do definitely want to have some others to join me at time to time, not every week or whatnot, but it would be cool. But hopefully, eventually, we having guests. I'll still be the host, and then there'll be guests, and then I'll be cool to introduce the special guests. It's always cool when you see people do interviews and they're like, and I have a special guest this week, and I'll be like, yeah, it is kind of. I don't know, whatever, just me rambling kind of. So yeah, welcome to episode 17. Got some decently cool stuff in store, I guess we should say. It's been an interesting week. There was a couple of different things I wanted to talk about, and I kind of, to narrow it down, I've actually probably should have did overtime. Spoiler alert, there will be no overtime. I probably could have. I probably should have did 5 topics this week. Now that I'm just thinking about it and getting this going. But I really wanted to talk about I have a big thing, or maybe it's a theory, maybe it's not real, maybe it's just me thinking about it, but I feel like there's a big foul issue with the two major sports in the United States. That's basketball and football. I think there's a big issue with fouls. I'll speak on that today. I'll talk about the NBA MVP. I'll talk about inflation, which I've been wanting to talk about for weeks. So I'll start first quarter off with inflation, and then I'll speak on the 12-team proposed college football playoff. That's another interesting thing that came up this week that I think deserves a little bit to talk on. As always, if you like, if you want, if you're a cool kid, appreciate if you like the video. Appreciate if you subscribe. If not, I thank you. Appreciate you for watching however long you've watched and whatnot. But yeah, I'm going to dive right in because I don't want to drag all the topics on this week. I say that probably every week, and they drag. So let's see if I can move a little more expeditiously. So, first quarter to tip off with inflation. U.S. inflation is the highest in 13 years. Price surged by 5%. So, there's a number of different angles to look at this from. Jay Powell and the Fed, which I'm still not a financial expert, but I get some of the stuff, and the Fed has a lot to do with how things move and things of that nature. I get that. I won't delve into that part, but the angle I want to touch on is that when the stimulus checks came out, and even just after everything opened back up, I think it was a natural course of inflation. I just think everybody was just concerned about how much, and I think 5% is a lot, and I just don't think that most people expected it to be that much. I guess that's how I feel about it. I personally thought that there was going to be some form of inflation, and not just obviously from just after the pandemic, but from 2019. I just thought things would go up, and I thought it was just natural order for them to go up. And $1,400 probably, heightened that a bit. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I heightened it a whole lot. But I think it just heightened it a bit because people that were working and pretty much just buying food and not doing the things they normally do, like travel. And I do think people saved a little bit of extra money. I think people were able to pay off bills and things of that nature. And I think people were just would be ready to spend when this thing cranked back up regardless. And I think that's the outlook on it for me. I feel like uh, it only made sense for prices to go up some sort. Um, it from just all the countless, or not, I won't say countless, but from the articles I've read and the experts I've listened to, just nobody knew the exact number. And Jay Powell and the Fed are saying, it's just temporary. Everything's going to kind of settle back down. And once again, just like, was this inflation going to happen? I just don't think people know the answers to any of that. Obviously, I said the Feds can dictate a little bit more and do. He says it's temporary because he has the keys to the car and he can turn it, a certain way, a certain direction if he wants to. So I understand his optimism, but like I think like the lumber prices and the steel prices, those are all interesting. I don't know how I didn't totally research it, but I saw a TikTok with somebody saying pallets are like, I don't know, exorbitant amount more than they used to be, just wood pallets. So obviously, if all that stuff is true, it does carry over to the customer. Just looking at how the housing market, people are playing like way more over market price, but that made sense because it's like everybody can work from home now. So now some people that lived in more expensive cities can now maybe move back home. So they want to, so all that stuff. That's why I can see the explanation that it being temporary, because all that stuff may settle out once everything settles out, once the economy and everybody gets back in somewhat of the groove. It won't be, I don't think it'll be the same for at least another year, but once, I think it's a possibility that everything will smooth out to probably where it's supposed to be. But in theory, another topic that could have went to overtime this week was just the income equality topic, and I think CEOs wages or whatever it was, salaries increased like 14%, like the average workers like 2% or something like that. So that income equality. So I do think if people, and maybe those numbers are out and I just didn't find them, look for them, but if people got more money, not just $1,400, more money from the actual employers, and then there's a bump. I think that's always the understanding, is that I don't think people really mind inflation as long as they can afford the inflation. So, prices are going up way faster than they have been in everything. School, colleges, probably more than anything. But prices have been going up way faster than people have been making the money. And if that was closer together, I don't know which side, up or down, who's on top, but even just a little bit more people making money, they could be like, okay, I could sacrifice not buying this, but I can afford to splurge on this and still be able to live, decently and things of that nature. And I think that's really what people want. People understand things happen and prices go up, prices go down, but just being able to afford it, especially if they need to, to do that, to use that. Like if somebody just wanted just lumber for a simple home project, not necessarily to buy or build a house, but just something simple. It's like, that's not worth it to build anymore because it's that high. And that's different. Like it's that price makes no sense to pay. But now if I absolutely needed that lumber to build, I don't know, a tree. I'm not saying a tree house. A tree house is not, whatever, a necessity to build something, a safeguard or whatever you needed lumber for, and you had to pay that, and it's like, well, it's not worth it, but I need it and I can afford it, and then you're kind of like, okay, I understand that. I could deal with that. Prices for used cars and trucks, 7.3%. I did a quarter on car prices before car prices jumped. So car prices are ridiculous already. They jump. I don't really need a car. It's like some people are like, I could just take an Uber, whatever. So it's like you kind of got to be careful with some things. And once again, everybody, people have $1,400 to go and put down on a used car or a new car, and dealerships are like, yeah, I'll take your $1,400 or your $1,000, whatever, and get you into a car. So that's obviously another thing. And I think I heard a used car. I was listening to KCRW at some point, and there was a guy that owned a used car place, and I forgot what the shortage is, but there's a shortage on manufacturing cars. So getting the used cars they normally get from dealers or whoever is at a short. I don't know how much of a short. I don't think it's that big of a short, because if you go to a car dealership, they're never out of cars. So whatever that means, I'm not in that field of work to actually say or whatnot. So there's always cars on the car lot. If you don't have the car that somebody wants, that's okay. You probably have a car that somebody wants. You just hope they can afford it. And that's my angle on this, is that inflation is whatever. But that's 5% is a big number. It's a little worrisome because I don't even count the airlines. So I don't know. I'm not a financial expert, but it's like the airlines are going to have to recoup some money, as long as they just don't gouge folks. Like, yeah, you can progressively put up the prices, especially as, they had to drop scheduled flights, which totally made sense. Like, why would you have all those flights that normally go out when nobody's flying? So you had to, park some planes, and now you getting the routes back in. So you got to, but when everything is smoothed out, the gouging shouldn't happen. Airlines make really good money on flights, and people need to fly. So the understanding of ticket prices being a little bit more is understandable. Hotel prices, and this is just for, I just speak on this stuff because this is just stuff people want to do just to get out the house. So just like to enjoy yourselves, go take maybe a drive or take a trip, rent a car. Rentals are up, hotels are up. It's like, I understand the hotels a bit, especially the ones that maybe still have like some kind of constraints or thresholds, because I know like Disney parks, they're not going to come back full capacity, or well, at least in California. So that'll be tough. Those prices will be up a little bit more. But for the hotels that, at least that I've been to, that I stayed in, it looks like they were, you're not every other room in a hotel. I don't know. So I don't know that. But if you're price gouging way more than you normally do at a hotel, I think that's wrong, excessive. And those are the things that people, I think, can counteract inflation. Because when everybody like goes and buys it up, that supply and demand thing, it's just like, nah, that's unaffordable. I'm not doing that. And if enough people did that, you wouldn't see things get jacked up like they do. So I think it's just being, market aware of things you're doing. Like I'm not flying nowhere where that's a price that I don't, if I don't need to go. Once again, it's that need, and that need is different. Like, oh, I need to go there. I need to get that hotel for a wedding, or do I need to go stay in that hotel just for the weekend to hang out at this cool place that I like? Like, no, you can wait that out. Like, you'll be all right. You waited a year, you can wait a little longer. So I think that's also where the inflation number comes from. But I do think that it was only right that some of the industries do need to recoup their money. But I just think that that number, where does it go, and then how do they continue to take advantage of it? Because we've seen like the top big companies, and once they can put their foot on your neck and keep it moving, they'll keep stomping on you, man. So hopefully it doesn't get out of hand and it smooths out. So we'll see. I want to look at it from that perspective of need and people being able to get stuff that they need opposed to what they want, and then having the money, obviously to go and do that. So that's first quarter. Second quarter is super interesting to me because it's a proposed 12-team playoff. Let me see here. So yeah, it's up on collegefootballplayoff.com. I'll make some kind of layout here that I'll make my picture smaller and put up the things that I'm looking at, just so it puts into perspective. Because staring at me and the first four quarters might be getting a little old. So let me get up your game a little bit. So that'll definitely be coming soon. But a subgroup of college football management committees today presented a proposal to change the current 14 format to 12 teams. My biggest thing was that how it would actually work. I had it, or was it? They actually had it in here. So the 4 highest ranked conference champions will be seeded 1 through 4, and each would receive a first round bye. The 4 highest ranked conference champions. So that means all the conference champions. So that's that argument of those conference champions would get automatically get in. So that eliminates that. And if they're the top in their conference, they get the byes. So while teams seeded 5 through 12 would play each other in the first 4 rounds on the home field of the higher ranked team, 5 would play 12, 6 would be 11, 7 would be 10, 8 would meet 9. And the proposal, the quarterfinals would be played in bowl games. The championship game would continue to be a neutral site as under the current format. So it's a couple different ways to look at it. I think the money, everybody always wants to speak on cash rules. So understandably, some bowl games, quite honestly, are only watched because they're gambled upon. Like we're gambling on it, so we're watching it. We're excited to see, who what's the first score. There's a bunch of prop bets in those. The overs. We're always betting those overs, right? And so that's what most people are watching. And then the rest of the people that are watching are fans of those two teams. So those bowl games are silly. I mean, the sponsors, Capital One and Chick-fil-A and whatever, they dump a little bit of money, but nothing like TV rights monies where something's on the line. Those bowl games is just like, oh, you win, and the winning team players get a cool watch or something. The other team gets a PlayStation or whatever. Now it means something. So you got a bunch of games now. What's that? That would be four games, 8 games essentially. So then 4 and then 4 more. You got 8 games that really matter now. That's a lot of money. And then now after those 4 games, then you get to what been happening. It's the 4 teams left. So then you got the 2 games and 1 game. So what's that, a quadruple up? I'm not getting that math directly, but that's a lot. Stuff's on the line now. People are watching. Kind of underdog come through. People love a great underdog story. It's March Madness. I won't say it's March Madness on steroids because it's not. It's just a different take on March Madness. It's a different take, and it's football. People love football more than basketball. So it's its own little, I don't know what this would be. January Madness. No. to be January. Yeah, something like that, right? January Madness, I think it is. December Madness, probably Christmas Madness. So the money aspect is obvious there. You don't really need to speak on that. The next thing is the players. Paying the players and the amount of games the players will now play. And then a little bit of exposure. I know players that, they go to the bowl games, get free stuff. Nobody really most good players really not trying to get hurt. I mean, that's, it's obvious, especially the good players that they got a chance to make it to the league. You're just not trying to get hurt. You're trying to put a decent performance up and not get hurt. Now you got something on the line. Maybe want to work a little bit harder, get a little bit of exposure. You make a good run, and now your draft stocks improve. So that does help the players in that aspect. Now, playing the players and then the amount of games is where it gets real sketchy, because this will make enough money to, well, first and foremost, they need to hack millions off of the coaches. And what some of these college coaches make, they could really just shave some of their, like the amount of money you can pay a college coach, shave that down, and you can pay the other sports, whatever. Polo, golf, I don't know what other sports that don't necessarily make a bunch of money, but them players should get something. They should get something for putting their bodies on the line and playing and at the least giving the school notoriety, whether it's for baseball, soccer, whatever. And they could shave some of that off with basketball and football and give that to those teams. And then they have to figure out how to pay there's a bunch of financial experts and smart people around. Obviously, the NCAA are not those people, but and I think this is a college football committee. I don't even know if this thing has anything to do with NCAA. I see nothing on here that says anything about the NCAA. But figuring out how to pay the athletes accordingly to what maybe said school makes or conference makes, they got to figure that out here. Because what will easily happen is that the players would get together and say, we're not playing. We're not playing. You're making all these money off these games. The best players will just sit out. And they'll still get drafted. The best players will sit out and they will still get drafted. I mean, if I was hypothetically this year Trevor Lawrence and this came up, I would have considered sitting out, not playing in it. I mean, for what? He got a championship already. For what? So that's the outlook that they have to be really careful on with this. But from a fan standpoint and competition, coolness, it sounds good. 12 sounds good. I think 8. Does 8 work out? I think 8 works out. I think 8 makes more sense. But once again, it's 12 because they're looking at competition. So you say the top 12 teams can be solid. And then you'll have those mid-major schools in there, schools nobody get to see. So that's that like 9 through 12. Make sure they get in there and get seen a little bit. So that makes sense. But 8 really solidifies like I still think 6, usually 6, 7, and 8. 1 through 5, I think have a shot. 6, 7, and 8 is iffy. And then, 9 through 12 or 10 through 12 is just, they won't have a shot, but they'll get out there and get their doors ran over. Unless they got good coaching, and that's a whole different thing. But I think 8 is really the number, but 12 maximizes the value of dollars, because I said you get 4 games and then right, you get 4 games and then 4 games, and then there's 2. So yeah, that's 8 games instead of just the 4. 1-4, you get 2-4. You get 2 4-games weekends, or however they do it, instead of 1 4-game weekend and 2 then 1. So you go 4-4-2-1. Yeah, that's just Not rocket science to figure that out. But let me move on. Move on. Move on. Moving on. That's a DCMA, right? I mean, nobody probably doesn't even know what that song is, right? All right, halftime, I sung a little bit, and now we get into the NBA MVP talk. Yeah, this would be cool right now. Like I said, if I had the screen to show what I'm looking at. I'm just looking at the 2021 voting results. And as of Sunday night, the MVP who got 91 first place votes, Nikola Jokic, is out. The Joker is out. Just to speak first is that Derrick Rose got a first place vote. Derrick Rose having a first place vote put him over LeBron, Harden in points. The total points wins it. They do a point system, which whatever. But Derrick Rose got a first place vote. Why? Who votes on this? Why they don't say tabulated by independent? Tabulated by independent kind of Ernest and Young will be posted. Complete ballots for each voter will be posted on PR. Oh wait, it's somebody that they show. They do a complete ballots for each voter will be posted after the announcement of all end of season awards. I'd be interested to see who voted for Derrick Rose. So that's what I'm about to say. So the people that vote in this thing, they got to figure out. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to get into how, whatever. But Jokic, first centers, and Shaq, great season. All of the above. But MVP, again, and most outstanding player, it's a difference. It's absolute difference. My gripe here is so Giannis had a bunch of third place votes and fourth place votes, so he got more points than Chris Paul. No way is he more valuable this year than Chris Paul, especially with Drew Holiday and Middleton. They got good players in there. Steph and B got hurt. Steph got hurt. Steph's team was pathetic. But Chris Paul, 26 fifth place votes, 2 first place votes, 2 second place votes. Put him in 5th place. He beat the MVP Sunday night. Swept him. Yes, he was without his guy. But even with Jamal Murray there, they might win 2 games? Maybe. 1, 2 games. Phoenix the better team. They're going to win. They were going to win. Chris Paul was determined. He would have sliced and diced and ripped apart Jamal Murray just as easily. And Jamal Murray would have soaked up Campazzo minutes, or actually take that back. He would have soaked up Austin Rivers minutes. And I don't know what Austin Rivers gave last night or Sunday night. Yeah, last night. Opposed to what Jamal Murray would have put in, and it took away. So you add to, you take away. So how much does he impact the game? A good amount, but is it what they win by 6, 7? They won by 2 or 1, whatever. They would have won. They're the better team. So with that being said, with Chris Paul, I don't mind him not winning the award. Jokic had a great season, but the competitiveness of it, the points adding up is absurd. 971 to 139, which in my opinion, and yes, this is a coming on late type of argument. There was a couple people that were on it early, like Charles Barkley and a few other people with Chris Paul. I wasn't one of them because it's really hard for him to overtake LeBron, especially with AD out and LeBron carrying Lakers. That would have made the most sense, with LeBron being up there and then Embiid getting hurt, because Embiid he's obviously very valuable to the Sixers. So LeBron and Embiid, you kind of were like, okay, I see that. And then Steph came on late, but they don't make the playoffs. And quiet as it's kept, the Warriors have a couple of decent guys. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is not the best, but, most people would take him, Luka would take him as a running mate. Andrew Wiggins is probably better than everybody on Dallas. Maybe except Porzingis, whatever. But, you get my point. So, Steph didn't have, nothing. I mean, Draymond gets it done. He plays really good defense. He has some other guys that could, knock down shots and whatnot. So, they weren't just horrible. And I said, the record just doesn't. You got to be valuable enough to get your team somewhere, and not an AFC. So I just don't think Steph Curry should have even been in the conversation, because with what MVP has become. So it really should have been Chris Paul and Jokic, very competitive. And I wouldn't have mind seeing it, 700 to 500 or something along those lines. But to be 800 points, total points off is just, it says a lot about how the NBA does this voting thing and what they look at. And it's not tabulated to the end of the season, so you can kind of get to see everything, get to see the eye test. And what he did with Phoenix was incredible, and they had a better record than Denver, 2 seed. And yeah, Jokic had an amazing, incredible season that whoever hasn't done. But we see what that does. Right? Like I did a piece on Russell Westbrook's and the triple doubles. I don't call them empty triple doubles, but where do they get you? Jokic, where does this get you? Yeah, Utah doesn't choke last year. Denver's out in the first round. They still get bounced by the Lakers. This year, swept. So, Joker's got to win you 1 or 2 games. He didn't. So, Chris Paul, I just wanted to really just speak towards that, just how this looks if you just look at these voting results and a tabulation of numbers here. Giannis and Steph being higher than Chris Paul is crazy, and even Embiid got hurt, but he is valuable. So you can make the argument, like I said, where it's like Jokic wins, but it's a little more competitive with Chris or Joel being 2. I would even take Chris Paul being in Steph Curry spot with 453. Steph Curry had 453 total points. I mean, that really should be Chris Paul there. I just was shocked. I was even shocked. I almost did a segment when they announced the finalists about doing this. But I said, let me wait until the MVP's announced. I know it's going to be Jokic, but let me make it official and then do my quarter on it. So that's all I really wanted to say about it, is that just the discrepancy of the points is just, I think it's embarrassing to the league a bit, and I don't know how they fix it or if they even care to fix it. But I'll be interested to see those PR votes and see which individuals and even who votes is, I don't know, should be looked at. But that's just my opinion. And fourth quarter, I have no stats or facts about this. This is just watching it from a fan's perspective and a competitive player, a competitive person, a sports guy. I never played football competitively, but basketball, I've been playing basketball for a while. I mean, I played football in the backyard as a kid, and I've always loved football. But the fouls are, in my opinion, a problem. think it's a problem for both leagues. And it's a problem because it's a tightrope act. It's a tough thing to balance and or figure out, because you can't be overly aggressive. People will take advantage. Players take advantage of that. You see flopping, like flopping gets rewarded for the most part. Oh, it is like, oh, we're gonna find some guys, but they don't really find guys because you can't really tell if they're totally, if they get grazed, they're falling all over the place. Yeah, I remember when guys would sprain ankles, and that's why I super respected Kyrie for getting up and walking off the court. I remember, playing, you sprain your ankle. Yeah, it was bad. You knew it was bad. People got up. You didn't lay there and just, your foot didn't fall off. Your ankle didn't break. You're coming back in the game in the next 2 minutes. People are just laying down there crying. And I get if you want to take a rest, but this is a recurrent thing. So my point is that when you give somebody an inch, they will take a mile. So you got to be careful with, with what you allow people to get away with. Football and the same, I kind of want to try to keep them in context, because holding, defensive holding, offensive holding, face masking is pretty obvious. But between holding and pass interference, and defensive holding, pass interference, like those calls are drastic for the NFL. Like, this is first downs. Pass interference is spot foul. So if you throw an 80-yard pass and homie flops all over the place and they get on the 1 yard line, that's ridiculous. It could be 3rd and 20 and a 5-yard defensive holding penalty. I think it's 5 yards, right? I think it's offside. Maybe it's 10, whatever. That's an automatic first down. Like, those are game-changing things. Like that changes a whole drive in football. Basketball, I kind of want to try to keep flopping back and forth. However, I think about this, it's just a topic that it's been on my mind for years now. Fouls. So you shoot a shot, and yes, somebody slipped under, Warrior slipped under Kawhi's foot, caused that. You got a lot of, the one they say he was a dirty player or whatever. He slipped under Kawhi and twisted his ankle, and that Golden State could have lost that series to the Spurs. Remember that it was definitely dirty, because you allow. That's what I started it with. You got to be careful how you rule it, because then somebody will slip under you and try to twist your ankle or try to hurt you. So you got to be careful. But there's also an aspect of, you shoot the shot. I need to contest it. Yeah, I'm not in your landing space, but if you land in my landing space, you land on me, now that's a foul. So now you get 3 free throws. That's huge. That's a big deal. And if you make it to and one, if you foul somebody, you slap them on the arm, you're right up under their feet at their vertical motion or whatever, we call foul. It just has to be, I think, my opinion, a little bit more precise. And then physicality, like playoff basketball season, whatever. Basketball is a contact sport. So if the defensive player touches you a little bit, foul, depending on what player that is or what they're doing, their movement. Offensive player can slap your arm off you, push you to the side, and call it every now and then. That's got to be fixed. Like, if the offensive player can be physical, defensive players got to be able to be physical to an extent. You can't wear a guy. You can't wear his jersey, but you should be able to get a little bit physical, especially when he's getting physical back. If a guy initiates contact on you, you should be able to initiate contact back. And there should not be a foul either way. I think there has to be a way refs get paid a bunch of money, and I think they should be a little bit more accountable to call the fouls the right way in basketball on that aspect. Flip back to football, same thing. Receivers. The push off for receivers is out of hand. Like, you'll see it every single week. The pass will come, the receiver will nudge the defensive back and catch, touchdown, whatever. The offensive player puts their hands on the defensive player way more than the defensive players, I think, probably have in the last 10 years. I mean, well, minus this. I always said the Seahawks got away. The Legion of Boom, whatever they branded themselves as, it worked because the refs never caught nothing on them. They fouled so much, and they got away with it. So was that them? Yeah. The Seattle defenses got away with so much contact. But since then, it's usually the offensive, and that's big because, once again, football is the most physical sport. And, that could dictate the game. A push, ref not calling it, ref calling it. Whatever the Saints play years ago, the no call where you hit the dude before that, like, the obvious stuff, yeah, but that dictates the game. That dictates seasons and changes it. So I think these refs, whether you put more refs out there, maybe that, but I think the physicality should match both sides. Yeah, we want to see scoring. I get that, but let guys score fairly. Is competitive. You don't want sports to feel like it's one-sided. Like, oh, whoever gets the ball last wins. I don't like watching sports like that. Maybe some people do. Maybe most people do and don't really care about fouls or how it affects the game. But that changes things. I was also going to say, flipping back to basketball, even flagrant fouls, like, they always say back in the day, but I don't even want to speak on back in the day. It's just certain stuff just shouldn't warrant what it warrants. Like, Jokic slapped at the ball. Yeah, he wound up. He scathed dude across the face a little bit. It happens. Pat Connaughton got his eye hole ripped out, or not. I shouldn't say that. He got cut with an elbow inadvertently. Nothing. He's sitting there like nothing. But Jokic wound up, hit most of the ball, forearm, scathed across Cameron Payne's face, and he's flagrant 2 out the game. That's just wild. That's wild. Like, everything's reviewed. Dudes get back up, fine, after rolling around on the floor. Like, that stuff needs to be fine-tuned in the game. It slows it down. It makes it feel really soft, corny, all of the above. Football doesn't do that because you got to, keep the flow. I mean, there's guys that, act like they're hurt to, get a sub and things of that nature. That's always been a part of football, so that's just the game. And I think everybody kind of is okay with that. Like, okay, we need a break too. Like, it's pretty intense sport, so you get that. But the fouls that dictate the game that could be called, like they always say, you can call holding every play. Yes, but I think my second part of it is that you got to figure out how the fouls affect the game. NBA getting in the bonus and shooting 2 free throws is goofy to me. It's goofy. Obviously, you can't just let people come down and just hack. You go into the lane and I grab you, hack. Now you don't get to shoot free throws. I haven't figured it all out, but there's something to that. Like, to get fouled 94 feet from the basket. Now you got to shoot free throws. Stupid. It's silly. Once again, like I mentioned before, it's 3rd and 20. Defensive holding. Now it's first down. No shot. It can't be first down. Like, it's not an automatic first down. It's not. It shouldn't be. Play over. You get 10 more yards to try it again. Like, and then if they do it again, could teams intentionally do something like that? Sure, but I don't know. Maybe you can intentionally hold somebody so they don't catch it, and I get all that. Like I said, that's the aspect of it that gets you there. But maybe defensive holding could be a spot foul. Where that holding happened. If the holding happened there, I don't even know, because I don't like the spot fouls either. Holding's a little different than pass interference. I don't know. They could be the same. I mean, I don't know. I haven't all figured out, but how it dictates the flow of the game is just. But once again, it's something I've been thinking about for a while, and yeah, NBA, NFL, they have a group of a committee, commissioners. They don't care or whatever. They can figure it out if they want to. Fans can speak on it if they want to, but it's something that hopefully gets solved, or maybe won't get solved, but smoothed out by the players soon. I'll say soon. Yeah, definitely could have did overtime. I definitely had something else, but as I spoke on to start the episode, dragging it out. Of course, I dragged it out. There's a couple passionate things I want to talk about. Variety, spice of life. But the last two episodes, this one and the last one, have been dominated by sports. So it's kind of what I thought I was always going to come in here and do, was talk about sports. But it always is random. Next week could be 4 topics on sports. Sports is pretty exciting right now. A lot of things going on in the sports world. A lot of things going on in the news and politics world too. But I wait till some of that stuff iron itself out before I speak on it, because it's all jumbled up, especially with like Joe Biden and Democrats and Republicans. It's very interesting, but it's just not really. It's all like fluff and talking and poking your chest out type of things, and I don't really want to talk about it until it's some solid stuff going on. And it's only 4 months into his administration, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I'll chill on that unless something exciting comes up. But as always, thanks for watching. This was number 17, a big 1-7 to play some D. Spoke on my big topic of files, the NBA MVP voting points, results, travesty. This year, the new 12-team proposed college football playoff, and a little bit of talk on inflation, which I've been following for months now. It's been a talking point, at least since the last round of checks came out. Been a talking point. So I definitely keep a big eye on that. Also said a couple episodes back, I talked about the cryptocurrency, the hack on Pipeline. There's been some more hacks on companies that interesting topics to look at. And yeah. So let me get up out of here. Thanks for watching. This is Play Some D. As always, until the next one, I holla.